Okay, so Samba's still here by the door. I think he thinks Mom is coming at some point to take him inside because he really does not like the garage. So what we're going to do now, I've got the camera back on my head here, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start putting together the pieces of the transmission. There are two main pieces of the transmission. This is the first piece, and it's got the clutch right here, and it's also got the sprockets for the primary. And then this is the second piece. It's probably going to come apart like this. I'm going to start moving things over. It's probably going to come apart like this because there's a clip on this side that secures, there's a clip on that side that secures. I haven't moved them. I'm not going to move them. Things seem to be good that way, and I'm just not going to touch it. And then these gears will fall off. You actually have to take these gears off to get it outside the motorcycle. You have to take this gear off to get it out of the motorcycle, and this bearing goes right in here. That has to come out to take it off the motorcycle. And you have this kind of bag of gears here, and it's not very intuitive. You kind of think a transmission would be like a big gear and then corresponding small gears. I'm going to take this glove off. However, it's not. What happens is there are forks that go in here, and then there's this drum thing that spins. These things are guides. I'm going to show you this probably in the next video, and they move the gears in and out in a very random order, and that changes the ratios of the gearing to make it either more difficult to drive or easier to drive based on whether you're in fifth gear or based on whether you're in first gear. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put the small piece in because that's the one that goes on the bottom. And there's a couple of tricks to this. The first one is these pieces look almost identical in diameter. However, they are not. And what you can easily do is try to cram something in this bearing where it doesn't fit and get into a lot of trouble. I've actually tried to do that a couple of times and screwed it up. So let's go ahead and do a dry fit first. You got to put this end in, and then you got to move it in, and it should slide right in, and it should spin freely. That's how it should work. It's very easy to screw up. It's very easy to get it backwards. I've done it. I'm sure other people have done it. And then what happens is you'll use the gear and you'll make some little indentations here. And this is kind of the dummy mark on the inside of the crankshaft here. You've got an oil hole right here. I think that corresponds to the oil hole in here. It's very difficult to tell from the parts book. This piece goes on first. And then this piece goes on. And by doing that, you're going to make that oil hole correspond with the hole here. And I think that that's the way it's supposed to go because it's supposed to lubricate this. Then the small gears, the smaller of the larger gears goes on. And you can see these little indentations here. They rub these little indentations here, which means that this is the correct side. However, another way to tell is this gear is not uniform. It's got a larger indentation on this side than it has on this side. So as a result, this indentation goes in. I don't know why that is. That's just the way that it's designed. And then you put this in here, and then what happens is it'll lock from time to time as the fork in the shaft pushes it, as the fork from this drum piece over here pushes it over. And then this gear goes on the outside, and it's uniform, so it doesn't matter. However, there's no real use of putting it on now because it won't fit into the motorcycle without it. So you go ahead and place this here. Okay, then you go back and you get your gears. This is the first gear that you grab. And then you just go ahead and put that on the outside. And then you ever so gently snake this gear inside until you got it around. And for right now, I'm going to take that out. And a whole bunch of assembly oil came out with it. And we're going to put that in. And that, as I said before, should continue to spin freely. I'm going to go ahead and place this back inside here. And you can see that that moves just like that. Pretty amazing. The other trick is this actually fits through this hole right here. And that goes just like that. I don't think there's any right way to do it. Because it's a fixed gear, it doesn't need to be oiled. So it should be okay. And then what happens is the bearing goes on the outside. Okay. And that's actually it for that piece, so that's pretty easy. Instead of putting this piece of the transmission on, what we're going to do next is we're going to assemble the drum and the shifter forks next, because they kind of layer on top of each other. This goes on the... And when other dogs come by sometimes... Hey, sit down, sit down, sit down, stop it, stop it, stop, stop, I know, you're wild, sit, Samba, sit, stop, stop, shh, 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 sit, 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 sit down, hey, 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 sit down, stay, look at me, stay, look at me, Samba, look, Samba, look, Samba, look. This is exactly how dogs get into fights. They get excited, they run at each other, somebody sees the other one is threatening them, and then they get into fights. And then people get in trouble, and dogs get in trouble, and it's a bad thing. Samba, sit. Stay. 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 Okay, sorry about that. So we're going to move on to the next piece, okay?